Welcome back to another edition of Sound the Sirens. I'm your host, Thomas Orness, and today I'm joined with my dad, as always. We got a bunch to talk about today.
Yeah, we got nothing to talk about today. It's been a really slow weekend.
Probably the greatest Cyclone weekend of all time. I'm granting it. Just from like imagery of Purdy going to the Super Bowl, CBS having national TV, and first time back since Tinsley era in 2001, which is crazy to think about.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, Fred Hoiberg era didn't get one of those games, but man, it was just very refreshing to go to the game, experience all that, and then knowing on the drive back that you're gonna have Bill Raftery and all those great. Jay Wright was freaking awesome.
Yeah, he is really good. Yeah,
and we played fantastic in both the games. But Purdy obviously had a struggle league first half, but I think the whole you can't just blame on Purdy. Obviously, the defense let Lions just run like
right.
David, which is honestly was just very kind of weird emotionally because like David was like, oh crap, but I was like cheering like for some reason I just want Purdy in the Super Bowl just because he's a quarterback and gets more glamour, but seeing David just go out there and play is freaking awesome. The championship game is just it wasn't his reasons why they lost, but man.
Yeah, David. I mean, I don't think David has gotten near enough love from Iowa State fans in this little run that the Lions have been on either. I mean, because with Gibbs, they split carries with him after David got back from his injury.
Gibbs is fast.
Oh,
holy crap, fast.
Yeah, I mean, but David is David, didn't fumble, and doesn't fumble still, and is just a bowling ball when he comes through the line, and he's just a great dude. I mean, so I was like you. I mean, I was watching the game, said, I really could be good with either one of these teams winning. I mean, I just was kind of like, the father in me was saying I wanted Brock to have a good day and not give the haters like Bayless and all those guys a reason to hate on him anymore. Because even if David had an average game, nobody's going to blame the loss on him. I mean,
which was weird seeing him have huge holes to draw through.
My gosh.
It's crazy. And
yeah.
And contact through, like he just absorbs contact, and seeing Purdy and him embrace after the game, just like, man. It's like those two had a lot of battles together. And they're
the Drake game.
Yeah,
remember the Drake game?
Crazy.
Oh my God! So he's playing for a Super Bowl, and not that long ago he was skating around Jack Trice, and then was that in November or December?
Yeah,
was a December game.
December, yeah.
But that was brutal. Yeah, it was a fun day. I mean, and everybody's. Everybody on the 49ers is defending Brock every time they get in front of a microphone. Bosa, all those guys.
The whole entire year. It was like, how long until they stop having to do that? And it's just the media just loves to push divide. Even though Purdy had a great year, like, man, there's really nothing that negative to say about him. Obviously, he just, like, sometimes his bad plays just look bad because he's just, like, scrambling around. And
that one he threw back across the middle.
Yeah, I was like, oh, crap.
I really think he was throwing it to Ayuk.
Really?
Because Ayuk was right behind Jennings, but Jennings just jumped up and, Odell that just grabbed it with one hand and pulled it out of the air. But if you watch the replay, Ayuk is coming back to the ball on the other side. So I honestly think he was throwing it up for Ayuk, but, it is what it is. It was a great play.
But amount of times where Purdy has some bonehead plays where it just happens to every quarterback, but they just don't really highlight the one where he, like, broke out of the scramble and, like, threw it to the fullback. But man, that was like one of the
great catch, getting his feet in bounds.
One of the most impressive plays to swing the momentum so many ways that Purdy did, and it's exciting to see Debo played, and he didn't get hurt or dinged up at all. But man,
of course, there was a hater on social media today that broke out remember the play against Clemson where the ball got batted and tried to spike it down and it turns into an interception. Somebody posted that today too. I mean, why today? I mean it was just silly, but that's just the way social media is. Just the way it is.
And it's just having an Iowa State quarterback in the Super Bowl is just going to be like the media coverage in the next week and a half or whatever it is, and it's just going to be so awesome. And best part about that game is we didn't have to see Taylor Swift one single time. Yeah, and we'll see her a lot in the Super Bowl in upcoming week.
But supposedly she's got a concert in Japan.
Oh,
I think that weekend.
I doubt I probably cancel that and go to the Super Bowl.
I don't
probably
know.
100%. But
I don't know.
Anyways, I'm sure people 50-50 on that. People either love her or don't.
Yeah, right.
With anyone else in the world, like Purdy, like half the people, I don't know, like I feel like Twitter makes it feel like the loud people that are against them just way more because like people just love to divide and make videos on.
That's the whole point of all
yeah.
social media. Is I mean, I've had this discussion with a million people. I said it doesn't bring us closer together.
No.
I mean, and it can just go back in history. I mean, look at before social media and now. I mean, jeez.
And like to go back to social media, just like the narrative around the whole Spygate, like
With
Jerome
the
Kane,
Kansas State
my
thing?
God, even if like let's just go down the crazy town, like they have zero evidence, so let's just say they do that. There's holding, like they're not gonna show it for some reason, but yeah, it's just like if it's not true and like they can just run with anything.
Yeah. So let's back
online.
up a step. So you and I have been around. This nobody should be shocked the fact that our favorite sport to talk about is basketball.
Yeah.
You were a really good 3-point shooter in high school. Had 2 games where you made 8 threes and, had set records at our local high school. And I coached, at some level for probably 20 some years. I've run a lot of huddles. You've been in a lot of huddles from the time you were in the 3rd grade. And everybody that has coached basketball before knows how crazy a huddle is. In high school, you get 1 minute to talk to your players. In the NCAA, you get maybe 2 minutes, unless it's the tournament. And I've seen the statistics on how many things you can say to a team during a timeout and expect them to remember it. You can't say too much. So to think that during that 2 minutes, one of our sophomores in college managers can pick up something from a huddle without hearing what they're saying. Even if you're looking at the diagram of a play, you can't figure out what they're actually saying. The only advantage you could ever gain is trying to figure out who's going to get the shot. And there's absolutely no way you're going to.
Or maybe an out of bounds play, but that is just
maybe.
But like to decode that in time, that would take it would take so much time, and like why would anyone do that?
But in 2 minutes, you have to decode it, like you said. Get the message in your phone, which I guess managers can't even have their phones during the game anyway. Get the message to the other huddle. They have to decode what you said, and then explain it to the players, all in 2 minutes. It's not happening.
No.
Getting a kid to understand a play during a timeout, getting a kid to really deeply understand a play that you've practiced on a diagram is very difficult. I mean, I don't know how many times I've diagrammed a play for our kids when I was coaching, and they went out and somebody made a mistake. One of the 5 guys did something that it was not something we talked about. So it was just absolutely ludicrous that they brought that up. One of their coaches was obviously, calling one of our managers an MFer during it, a cheating MFer. And it just got out of control. So Sports Illustrated was calling it the next cheating gate, like after the whole Michigan thing. One guy posted that. I mean, yeah, it was insane. And then KSU is going to,
they lost by 30 the next game.
And then they're still complaining about the officiating in that game too. So, yeah, it's too bad. I mean, I've got a lot of Kansas State friends that, I'm obviously not going to hold it against them, but it really is going to take a while for Jerome Tang to get out of this one, I think.
I don't know. It's just I feel like there's so many things. Just like sweep it on the rug and just keep moving forward. Obviously, he adjusted today that there's no comment and said that him and TJ are fine. And he had conversations with him. And he said, "I like the conversations we had," and just move on. Just like, but like at the very least, can we just agree that this is a rivalry now?
Yeah.
Like with the Jamie statement out, like, can we just like, okay, we're declaring Farmageddon, Iowa and Kansas State are a rivalry.
And TJ's opening statement at the press conference, if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and watch it. It is flipping fantastic.
Yeah, and it's just a shame that he has to even address that right after a freaking awesome win, and CBS is in town, and we had 14 threes, and yeah, it's just going back to the game. It's just Trey King. I went into the game thinking if Trey King has a big game today, that we're gonna win. And he came out and hit 4 threes and a step like fadeaway jumper in Dickerson's face, and he just could play it absolutely fantastic. He wasn't in foul trouble, which he's been foul trouble the last 3 or 4 games, and which has been huge just for like as a like confidence for the team. Just because as a post player, we don't have like endless post players on the bench that can come in and play as good as Trey King that has been in our system so long, and he played fantastic, and it's just. awesome to see players like we know that Trey King could play like that, show up in the big games and do it. And it's just like the last time we played Kansas at Hilton, and he freaking showed out. And man, it was just rewatching the game. I've like watched it like 3 times.
So have I.
Like,
yeah,
it's just like so fun.
That's
to watch
so much fun. Yeah,
because like the broadcast and like the music, it's just like.
And
Man,
CBS
so
does
awesome.
it. Oh man,
Such
they're
a-
so good.
It's such an upgrade. Just like man, we are on ESPN Plus compared to this. It's like night and day. You can't
Feels
even
like
play.
felt like an NCAA tournament game just because of the music and you had Bill Raftery and Ian, whatever his name is, that was the play-by-play guy. I mean,
And like, do you see Bill Raftery like talking to TJ, but like, oh, you guys think you guys are going to win the conference? You don't have to answer that. And it's just like made him uncomfortable, and he's smiling. It's just like, man,
Yeah.
it's like an 8-year-old, because like you see TJ, like he's probably just thinking, I'm being interviewed by Bill Raftery,
right?
Not thinking. And like, I think every time TJ has a huge win at Hilton, he just like soaks it in because just like he just wanted this job so badly.
Right.
And now he's just doing exactly what he wanted to do. And man, is it working? Is it working for us? And it's just exciting. And man, I just hope the rest of the year, it's like obviously the weather is turned around, and hopefully we're gonna have sellout Hiltons and just defend Hilton, have an undefeated year in Hilton, which we haven't had in a long time. And I think that's TJ's one of the biggest goals of the year is just defend Hilton. And man, we'll just see what happens on the road because the Big 12 is just a gauntlet. And I just think we have the guard play and the post play just to keep winning hard, tough games because not everyone has the experience and strength that we do. And man, when Gilbert and Curtis Jones play like that, it doesn't really matter. Like Lipsy just could play his average game. Like we're gonna win. Like because Curtis Jones, when he was cooking like that in the second half, I'm just like, man, like the step back threes. And then Milan hit a 3, and we had 7 straight threes in to start the second half. And we're not going to lose many games in Hilton when that happens.
Well, Curtis, I think everybody thought he was on fire. I think he ended up 3 for 8 for the game. I mean, so
yeah, but
I mean, but he had some big ones.
Yeah.
So here's some. I mean, yeah. So I mean, obviously TJ's living his dream, which everybody can aspire to do someday. But Trey King, obviously, if you watch Bill Self in the post game press conference, they played the stats. I mean, Trey was shooting 17% from 3 heading into the game. He'd only taken 3 attempts, but as of today, Trey is shooting 30% from 3, so went from 17% to 30%, and his percentage from the 3-point line is better than Keyshawn's,
which is
by 5 points.
But every time
by 5 percentage
like
points.
Keyshawn's percentage doesn't like his clutch percentage though. It's got to be so high. Like,
Under 5 minutes, he's money.
Yeah.
I mean,
like when he just like obviously during the broadcast like watch for Chris or Gilbert to turn on here because he's been quiet. And man, they were like Jay Wright like nailed many plays. Like he was kind of like Tony Romo where he was predicting.
Yeah.
Obviously they went to practice, so they probably like
sure they
saw
did.
it.
Yeah.
But man, every time there's like, yeah, Milan's gonna set a screen and get open here, and then man nailed it in the first half, and then the second half they did the same play, but Gilbert just kept it and just launched a 3. And man, I gotta be completely honest, I was not confident that going in, but man, when he splashed him, it's like, oh gosh, I'm not gonna doubt him ever again. 'Cause
Yeah.
every clutch shot he does, he nails it, and it honestly kind of reminds me of Kauster last year, where just big shots that's where like the biggest hole in the year from last year is like clutch shot play. And we have that with Curtis Jones and Gilbert, and man, it's just fun to see. And like Ward's block was absolutely massive,
He cocked back on that thing and
was so
swatted
sweet.
it. Yeah, it was fun.
and just his footwork and length to be able to guard guards, and just to be out there and just we have so many like TJ rotates so many so frequently all the time, and like as a fan, I'm kind of like, man, can we just like let the lineup marinate? But man, it keeps working, and the only really thing that I kind of like wish that Robert Jones maybe wouldn't play as much on crunch time, but every time I see that, I'm like, if I was Kansas, I would just foul him every time because like the free throws, but no, they didn't do it. And but man, when he's out there and he's a veteran and he just does what he does, and we just got to take the missed free throws, and we'll just take that because I feel like next year we're gonna miss like that.
Oh, we're gonna miss both of them. Yeah.
The experience in the system, and that's like you can't even put a price tag on that because. And
You can in the NIL world now.
yeah, you can, but
well, I mean, percentage-wise, I mean, Hassan and Robert are about shooting the same from the free throw line. So, I mean, you have either one of them in.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's it's a gamble of who's going to make free throws. But, that was the thing that I was getting most frustrated with during the game is we were missing, we missed the front end of 1-on-1 and we missed, we went 2 for 4 on the technical thing. And these are from good free throw shooters. I mean, Milan is 85%, Trey is 80%, Curtis Jones is 76%, and Taman is 67%. And it was just one of those days where the threes were going, but the free throws weren't at the beginning of the game.
Which very rare it happens,
right? I mean, we were at one point, I think we were 4 for 11 for the free throw line.
But like, if we just could figure out the free throw situation, that would just cover up so much. It would just give up our margins way wider. Because
I mean, but what I'm saying is we're not. It doesn't like we have a bunch of 50% free throw shooters. I mean, Bob and Hassan are both just a hair above 50, but everybody else is around 70.
But no one looks comfortable in the free throw line right now.
No, they don't. And I'm, there's probably people out there that are listening and think I'm crazy. But when we do a whiteout game, it should not be when we're wearing white uniforms. Because when you're in the heat of battle and you've got all of this white as a background and your teammate is in white as well, we've watched games. If you watch games close, there will be teams that if our warm-ups or somebody on the bench has a similar colored jersey, their peripheral vision they'll turn it over because they see somebody that's in that color.
Yeah.
And I don't like. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it, but having a white out on the day we wear white uniforms to me is something that we should change. I mean, the golds, if we do a whiteout, do the golds. If we do a whiteout, do the blacks. If we do a cardinal, do the whites or whatever. But if you look at it, if standing on the floor and looking in the crowd with all of this white, and then your teammates are in white too, in the heat of battle, it's pretty easy to make a mistake.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
And I don't know about that. I guess the whiteout situation.
It really looked cool, though.
But yeah, the Texas game last year, I feel like white T-shirts are the only thing where we actually nail. Like, there's not a lot of people. There's a lot of gold T-shirts, but there's not very many. Like, if you look at someone's closet, they're gonna have way more white T-shirts than gold T-shirts. So, and like
we're not real good at the stripe.
And the stripe thing, yeah, we tried to do like what Kinnick does in Iowa, and it just doesn't really work. But God bless the marketing team. They got to do something to get these games going.
Sure.
But now it's just like we sell Hilton. Just come to Hilton and sell it out, and it's gonna be a good time. So
yeah, and there were still tickets available. I mean, if it was sold out technically, I think, but in the upper corner behind our bench, there was probably 2 rows. There was nobody sitting in it.
Yeah, obviously you can't control when people don't come and don't, but
right.
It's just what it is. We're not like many times in my life. I'm just like, there's been like Hilton games where they're sold out, but there's like when you say like that, there's 2 rows like blank. But man, you can't nitpick there because
no, I'm not. I mean, I'm just saying that if you really wanted to come to the game, you could have bought a face value ticket.
Yeah, which
probably. I mean,
it just kind of sucks. We don't know if we're gonna play Kansas next year at home or not.
Right.
Which is kind of disappointing, but maybe they can change something with that. Just put the Big 8, like have the Big 8.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Lock that in every year, just like home and home somehow. I'm not sure the scheduling thing. I'm sure it's way more complicated than it, obviously just from outsiders. Like, but figure it out. Just like make sure every year we should not be playing like at UCF, not at Kansas.
I agree.
That should not happen.
No, we should be. I mean, with the history of Kansas and Iowa State, there is no reason we're not playing every year.
It's a good game no matter what. Even when we're bad, it's usually a close game. Like going back from like the Jake Sullivan years where it was in between the Larry and Wayne Morgan years, we were still in it like every time. And like the Craig Brackens year, it's still an entertaining game. Like even as a Kansas fan, like you probably circle that Iowa State game when they come to town. Like they're be really good basketball players. Obviously the refs and the Kansas is freaking the Fog Allen usually pushes them to win more times than not, but no, there's been more competitive team in the last like 30 or 40 years in like Allen Fieldhouse than Iowa State.
Well, I mean, if you listen to Bill Self, which I love Bill Self, I mean, I've been a fan of his since I have a video cassette of him when he was an assistant for Eddie Sutton at Oklahoma State that is a coaching video that I used to watch that out of bounds plays and stuff. And he had these big pop bottle glasses on and was with a regular overhead. It's that old. So I'm a huge fan of him, and I watched his press conference twice, and he said, people are talking about that their building always gets all the credit for the wins. He goes, well, this place is pretty good too. He goes, and so he was talking about, we had a team that's that locked in we're talking about Iowa State now, locked in, playing for each other, plays that hard, it takes a special effort to win it. And he said 74 points in this building ought to be enough to win. He goes, we just weren't good on defense, which I think that's a pretty fair statement. I mean, they gave up 78 points, and
yeah, Milan got open like multiple times.
And Milan was open on the Keyshawn shot too. I mean, and I think Keyshawn said in the press conference they ran the same play, but he didn't think he could get it to him. So, we've made a big deal about making 14 threes. Well, I honestly think that was a strategic thing from TJ. I mean, I think he purposely told us to shoot more threes because we shot 21 threes against TCU. We shot 30 against Kansas. And so they, Trey being 4 for 7, kind of came out of the blue, but Milan 3 for 5, it's a good day. Taman's 2 for 5. Keyshawn was 2 for 5. And Curtis was 3 for 8. So, you take out Trey out of that, it's a pretty average day. It was above average because Trey was on fire. So that also changes the way teams are going to scout us too. I mean, they can't put I've heard people talk about how good Hunter Dickerson is. I am on the other side of the fence. I don't think he's that good. He's slow. Most of the points that he got were facing the basket. He wasn't making post moves. He's 7 foot whatever, and so he got a dunk and did catch a couple of shots inside. But it wasn't like he was pick your Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq or somebody in their dump or Joel Embiid. I mean, he wasn't dominating the paint, and it takes him forever to get up and down the floor. So he's scores 20 points because he's 7'1". If he's 6'8", he doesn't even get in double digits.
And most of the shots he had where no one was on him, no one was close to him. And
at the free throw line, he had several shots that he made from the free throw line. There's nobody guarding him.
Yeah,
he was playing horse.
It's just like weird to play Kansas and we're not even remotely scared of them.
No.
Which we haven't been like that in a while. Obviously, they've won national championships and stuff, but it's just nice that, like, when I was a kid, like, when Kansas came to town, it was usually, like, the Morris twins, like, Tron Collins, like, Tayshaun Taylor, like, players that have been there for a long time. Obviously, they had that point guard who wasn't around the national championship, but he really didn't shoot the ball at all, and he's very kind of lackadaisical, and he obviously is trying to pick his spots, but, man, like, that number 10 kid for Kansas, he can shoot the living crap out of the ball, and he's going to be freaking good.
Yeah, the Burfy, is that his name? Furphy. Yeah, he was 3 for 5 from 3. Yeah, he's good.
And
he's same height as Milan, I believe.
We had a great momentum. Like, we were gonna shut the door on them, and then they came back at 2 threes back to back. And it's just like when that happens, and like we like are kind of lackadaisical with the ball, and we turn the ball over, and it's just kind of like, gosh. But man, that Gilbert 3 kind of just washed all that run away.
The other thing too that I noticed being at the game live is that with Milan being as big as he is, we have more length obviously than we had last year. And there's a couple of times when Kansas was trying to run an out of bounds play, and we had Milan on the ball, and they had a hard time getting the ball in bounds just because he's so long. Then you put Hassan on the ball. He's super long.
He might be the best I've ever seen at Iowa State. Holy crap.
He gets his hands on a lot of out-of-bounds plays.
He's so fast at it, too.
Yeah. He's really good at anticipating where they're going to go and deflecting the ball, or he almost got one.
Because there's one where he tipped it out, and then they switched the out-of-bounds play, so Ward wouldn't be the person guarding him just for that in that corner. But I thought we should just keep Hassan over that corner and keep it going. But obviously, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably could have done that too. But that's another one of those things that you're making decisions on the fly, and TJ's on the opposite of the floor, and he's got to try to communicate that in a heartbeat to those guys, even if he wanted him on the.
Yeah, but just like having TJ and then AJ Green's dad as a coach, I think him as the assistant has just been absolutely crazy good on defense. It's just been night and day, absolute night and day. Like, we're used to good defenses on Iowa State. Like, most of my life, we just got to outscore them. Who cares about the defense? But now it's just like, defense creates offense, and man, Gilbert and Curtis Jones, when Lipsy on the court together and they start picking and getting turnovers, it's hard for teams to I bet it has to be very deflating. Just especially, it's how many times where they just throw us the ball.
Right. Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, we're in 2 pass away defense, and we don't even have to tip it. We just intercept it like a D-back.
They just try teleporting passes, and it just boom.
Yeah,
Curtis Jones gets it, and then
the other new thing that we're doing this year too is how many times have we denied the wing and deflected it to ourselves? Taman did that on that one play. We've done that a lot this year. where we're denying the wing so hard that we're baiting them into trying to throw it to the wing, and we knock it down with our offhand and then go get it and take off on a fast break. I mean, yeah, it just shows you how much we drill the basics of defense, and with every kid's bought in, and we're all playing super hard because to play that kind of defense, if you don't play hard when you're denying the wing that hard, and we saw it happen a couple of times to us, Self was trying to take advantage of that, and he got a couple layups out of it. If you don't play your butt off doing that, you're going to get torched. And then even Self said, he realizes he's got a problem, and his bench is not very good. Some of those guys he was dragging out there at the first half, I'm not going to pick on him, I guess, but a couple of those guys I don't think played in the second half. They just aren't very good. I mean, he got 7 minutes out of Timberlake, 4 minutes out of McDowell, whoever that is, and 5 minutes out of must be that Braun kid's brother. And all the other starters were, 27, 38, 35 minutes. And he said, at the end of the game, I have to have the starters in. So he got 2 points out of his bench. That's a problem. If you're in the Big 12 and this grind, and when you get to the NCAA tournament, it's hard not to have somebody on the bench you can bring in. And I listened to some Kansas guys talk. They were talking that they thought they found somebody from the bench. I can't remember who it was that they think is going to be the person that's going to solve it. And I don't even remember who it was because there was nobody on their bench that really stood out to me.
Yeah, it was kind of like other than if you take Dickerson off the team, like they're not even
They're pretty average.
remotely like scary at all. Like watching them warm up, or like it's usually like, oh, Andrew Wiggins is out there, Ben McLemore, or like
yeah, you can go down this list a long time. Yeah. Paul Pierce.
Yeah, Paul Pierce, like Nick Collison, and like
Kirk Heinrich. Man, you're gonna
it's a long list because they've been good so long, but obviously it's just been every time you walk out of the stadium, we beat Kansas, it's just like, man, the feeling, and obviously when it's not negative 30 degrees outside,
right? It was a beautiful day,
and like I'm just like, because like thinking about like the parking when they obviously have to do that for Sci-Town, but just like when they did that, I'm like, man, it's gonna be suck if it's like negative 20 degrees outside and we're walking out here. It's a long walk, but man, it's kind of obviously the Oklahoma State and Houston game was kind of hurt by the weather, but we still got a great game against Kansas.
I don't think I've told you this, but I was walking with the football players on the way out to the car, and Bo Freeler was ahead of me. Jeremiah Cooper was ahead of me. Caleb Bacon was ahead of me.
Like they were at the game?
They were at the game, yeah. So I was walking right behind them. And I heard somebody say Bo, and he turned his head enough that I could recognize him. And I thought it was Will McLaughlin walking next to me, but I found out later it wasn't. And I looked at him. I said, dude, if you're going to make the bowl games, you got to get better parking than this, because they had to walk all the way back to the facility, the football facilities where those guys parked.
Yeah, I mean that's where we parked too. So
yeah, I mean, so I said you got to get better. You got to get Campbell to get you better parking for these basketball games, and they kind of laughed at it. But
just think
Campbell was there. Everybody was there. Yeah. All the coaching staff, and so it was a fun day.
And man, Campbell, I can't imagine. Like I would love just like see a video shot of Campbell watching Purdy play yesterday, or that game yesterday. Like, oh, it's been so like gut wrenching. It's like, okay. And like when there's a Lions fumble, and I couldn't tell who fumbled it. I was like, all right, it wasn't David. I was like, oh,
right,
sick.
Yeah.
It's like I was just like, oh crap, I don't want David to fumble and then Purdy to win off David's fumble, but it was Gibbs. But
yeah, I'm sure he was watching like a dad would, when you've got two kids on the opposite sides of the team. I mean, opposite sides of the ball.
Like seeing, like, I don't know, like obviously Purdy's an awesome scrambler, and he's probably learned many times to like take care of the ball. But every time he runs with the ball like that, I'm just like, oh, just please don't
fumble.
Every time, how many times where he just gets poked?
Yes,
on the floor, and it's like, But man, it was so sweet to see him just have more rushing yards than Lamar Jackson and the championship weekend. It's just so sweet.
Was Lamar Jackson the one yesterday that pump faked way beyond the line of scrimmage?
I don't know.
Somebody did it yesterday. It was a very Brock, maybe it was Mahomes, very Brock thing to do. He was like 5 yards past the line of scrimmage and pump faked. And I saw a football coach get on Twitter and say that should be illegal, because you're taking advantage of
like the fake slide thing, like in that one college game. Remember that, where the guy fake slide but yeah, I don't know. I thought
that was kind of funny.
But Purdy's been doing that for a long time, since his first game.
Yeah, I think it was Mahomes that did it yesterday. Now that I think of it, but I thought it was funny that you should think it should be illegal, because it takes advantage of the defense's instincts, so that you can't fake left and go right then either.
It's just like in this upcoming triple, like we have two Big 12 quarterbacks, Mahomes and Purdy, and two Midwest. Like I don't know. Obviously, San Francisco's not Midwest, but like Kittle and Purdy, and it's just like so many Iowa connections, and
there's a lot of Chiefs fans in
Yeah.
Iowa too. I mean,
so it's gonna be a fun. It's gonna be a hard. I'm gonna be so nervous going to it. Just like gosh, just because like I think Purdy is just gonna freaking go for it and just because like how many like he's been in many big games where like he has had to do all the work, but now like he can just like I'm just like hand the ball to McCaffrey, just like hand him the ball.
Yeah, how good is
How many
that guy?
times I've said it's like Purdy makes good play. Okay, all right, give him a break. Just hand the ball to McCaffrey, and then he can like, man, having a Hall of Fame running back and Hall of Fame left tackle and a Hall of Fame tight end, and Debo Samuel is freaking one of the best receivers ever.
Ayuk is having an unreal year.
And
I mean,
who was that? Well, you said that one candy catch, that 15.
Jennings.
My gosh, it's like he has a lot of weapons, and it's just as long as he doesn't make the one that makes a mistake, I think he can just get all their credit. And obviously, even if he wins the Super Bowl, I think there's probably gonna still be people that don't give it up for him and say that it was the team and the system. But
yeah, I think there's people out there that are a lot like you and I and your brother. I mean, we're sitting there watching the game yesterday, and he says, "I feel like I'm watching my big brother when he's watching the game." And I think we're all to that point. It's the way I was when I was watching you play, and your brothers in basketball and football is just saying, I don't want you to make a mistake because I don't want you to feel bad. I mean, it's not embarrassing to me. I just know how much time you put in, how bad you feel.
Well, we did that. We didn't have Skip Bayless and
right. It's a totally
Stephen
different
Smith
world. It's not on national TV. Nobody's tweeting about you missing a shot.
And 24/7 news cycle, and just that's all they talk about for now and eternity. Because if Purdy like makes a couple more mistakes in the second half, like today's like podcast is about how like everyone's just like saying they should just look for a new quarterback and Purdy's not the guy, and they're just waiting for that to happen. And man, he's second year guy in the Super Bowl. Like he's playing two championship games. The only playoff game he's lost was when he got hurt in. So like, what else can you say about the guy?
Yeah, I don't think there's many San Francisco fans that are saying that. There's a lot of non-San Francisco fans that are there that are Brock Purdy haters.
Purdy kneels it. First person to hug him is the head coach.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And you look in this crowd, there's all 13 jerseys, and
but it's just the fact that every one of his teammates has to defend him. I mean, they're all doing that without even being asked anymore. I mean,
I think it wouldn't be a huge thing if Purdy wasn't like on a rookie contract,
right?
Like if he was getting paid like for Mahomes $45 million a year, or Dak Prescott, I think, or obviously
Lamar.
I don't think it would sting as much because like Purdy hasn't got his paycheck yet, and if he can get this, like if he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to get paid.
He triples his income for the year, I believe.
But like even if he does a couple of bad years, there's going to be a team that pays him a bunch of money just based off the Super Bowl. Like how many dollars did Joe Flacco get based on that one Super Bowl? But obviously Purdy's not even like Joe Flacco and Purdy are not even like the same category, because Purdy the way he can extend plays is just, you can't disagree with it. It's
right.
Like he just does it every time, and like if he didn't have the legs he had yesterday, they don't win.
Yeah, and they should have got that one guy dropped his helmet down and not tried to peel Brock's helmet off when he was on the ground too.
That was 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, it should have been.
7 points. But man, that would have been huge if that.
That would have been massive.
That would have been such a huge topic.
And also, if Moody makes that first field goal too.
That was very deflating.
Yeah, and he's from Michigan.
And he's Detroit.
That was making me a little nervous. Well, I mean, so getting back to basketball, I mean, I think we're sitting at 16-4, 5-2 in the conference, one game behind Texas Tech right now. There's a lot of people out there saying the winner of the conference is going to have five losses possily.
And we played at Baylor on Saturday.
At Baylor Saturday.
Which we've won 3 straight games against Scott Drew, which it'd be pretty impressive if we can get 4 straight wins. But obviously, it's the first time in the new arena we're playing them. And
we get that horrible angle. We have to watch the game. And like we said last time, this is the last. We play Texas after that, and it's the last time we have to ever deal with that damn Longhorn network.
Which, how many times we've done that? It's been like every time we've honestly in our brains just like, it's got to be simpler than this. Every time we play that game happens, like, no, it's stupid. We have to go through we have to get Sling TV or something.
And canceled the next day.
Forget some free trial. but I'm just glad that's over because, and man, their coach and Tyrese Hunter and all that. I just kind of wish that was in Hilton one more time.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice that it's not, but because that would have been another fiasco. Because like Tyrese Hunter's like that is just a complete afterthought. It's like we have
Tyrese
like,
is we
give
don't
me
need,
Lipsy and Gilbert all day.
You're right.
Like Gilbert is what we wanted Tyrese Hunter to be. Like,
right.
Because like man, that Euro step he did, I'm just like I thought he got hurt or something. I was like that was not a natural move, but man, he freaking the balance that it takes to go full speed, drop on one foot, and make a layup.
And he violated probably almost every coach in the world's rule out there. He didn't give it up to Curtis coming on the side.
Rafter is yelling at just give it up.
Yeah. I mean, and when, I worked at Roy Williams camp one summer when I was a young coach, and, he taught the kids, before you get to the free throw line to yo-yo it back and forth because it makes the defense move.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing on a 2-on-1, if you make one pass, that defender has to make a decision.
How many times does some player just bounce past it? Ruins the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, if he makes one pass, Curtis probably either does exactly what Keyshawn does, or Keyshawn ends up with a layup too.
I just want one time, just off the glass to Ward. Just one off the glass.
Yeah,
That'd be so cool.
Yeah,
but
it would.
If it doesn't go in, then TJ takes them all out. And
well, the standings are. I texted this to you today. Oklahoma is picked last in the conference.
And
they're sitting at 3-4 right now.
Yeah, they're good.
Still, they've almost have dropped out of the top 25 already, but they're already down to fourth from the bottom of the conference. Obviously, we're only 7 games in, but
honestly, West Virginia beating Kansas, one of the most crazy upsets. Because do you remember the West Virginia offseason? Like they got big transfers, and then Huggins had his whatever deal.
Yeah.
And then all those transfers left because they got a waiver.
But don't they have 3 guys that all of a sudden there was an eligibility question? Now they're eligible though.
I'm not sure. I haven't really.
Yeah, I think that's the truth because Self referred to that saying if they would have had them all season, they'd be a bubble team right now.
Yeah, because West Virginia, they've had a great basketball program like last decade or so. But
West Virginia's 7-5 and they're 2-5 in the conference, with one of them being against Kansas.
Yeah,
right?
like Kansas being like this is the worst start in Kansas or Bill Self era and the Big 12. I think that really is great for us because if we can just defend Hilton and steal some on the road, if we win at Baylor, that will be a huge win.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting it by any means, but if we can get a similar game of Trey King and Curtis Jones and Gilbert again, I think we have a great chance.
Well, Baylor's on a 3-game losing streak right now. I mean, they lost at Kansas State, lost to Texas, and lost to TCU. And then now they have to play at UCF, which hasn't been an easy place to play this year before they play us.
Which is crazy to me because, like, for some reason, I always just thought UCF and, like, Cincinnati were kind of like, at least those teams are going to be, like, probably struggling coming to the Big 12. But
making the adjustment.
UCF, beating Kansas, like, that is huge. And, like, then they went to Texas and won there.
Yeah.
They were shooting the horns down and all that jazz.
And then they got, what was it that happened last week? The BYU student section?
Yeah, the horns down T-shirts.
And they made them take them off.
And then like the coach was like defending that decision. It's like, gosh.
Good
how
Lord.
soft are we getting? It's like that is just ridiculous.
It's horns down.
It's a hand symbol that means nothing.
Yeah. It doesn't even, you can't even stretch it into some political statement or some
nothing
civil right. I mean, it's just a
cow
putting it's like their mascot turned upside down. That's all it means.
Yeah.
There's nothing sexual about it. There's nothing dirty about it. It's just we don't like you.
And like I think
what they say, clones down. Are we going to get We're going to get defensive. I mean,
but yeah, like there's many people in our conference that have hand signals, but we don't.
Thank God we don't. I'm sorry. I might sound old as hell here. I'm really glad we don't have one of those stupid hand signals. Like whatever the frickin' TCU does,
it's like this
looks like they're they just had a stroke or whatever, and it's so dumb.
Oklahoma State's different than Texas Tech.
Yeah, the 2 guns thing. How is that not offensive?
Yeah, no.
You're pointing guns up in the air. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just thankful we don't have some goofy cyclone signal that we're doing with our hands. I mean,
it was the biggest thing was when the Big 12 came out there randomly that one year, changed the rules that if you did it on the touchdown celebration, that it's an automatic flag.
Right.
Which if they ever did that,
right.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Maybe Texas should just be as good as you were this year the whole time. We wouldn't have been a problem.
Or just ignore it. I mean, people keep doing it because you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
That's
if you
very
just
true.
ignored it, it would probably go away.
And like the Texas coach like berating the people in the line, and then like have the Kansas State guy do the same thing to like us in the
Yeah.
line. It's like, what are we like?
It's but
It's a cardinal rule of coaching. It's like you can talk about that later. You don't berate me or after a win.
yeah,
on the road.
the other team.
Yeah,
it's
it's just
dumbest.
like, what
I've
are we
talked to a
doing?
lot of people about that, but but Texas does that constantly. Watch a game at Texas, everybody's doing the cow's horns thing up. And then, we've got cousins that are big Texas fans.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nathaniel in Texas, by
Yep.
the way. We're going to give you a shout out.
Yep.
He listens to us in San Antonio. Big Texas fan, but they're standing in Jack Trice and doing the horns up when they're going to kick off or get a drink of water or whatever. And that, we don't really think it's that big a deal,
And-
but it's a big deal to them. So obviously, if you don't like them, you're going to do the opposite.
And like, obviously, this is completely up. Well, like when me and Toole and Bryce Bradley were at the Texas game, and like they do that, I'm just like, and I just like told Bryce Bradley in his ear, it's like this kind of like looks like the Hail Hitler thing.
Oh boy, take it easy.
When they're going around, everyone's doing it. I'm just like, it's kind of like weird.
If you just
It's
open
kinda-
your hand up,
yeah, it's just
you know.
like it's just kind of squirrely. But anyways, it's obviously
That's
different
a
cultures.
bit of a
and-
stretch, but
Well,
there
it's
is. I
like,
mean, I remember when in the '80s, heavy metal was there was a lot of satanic rock things like Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue.
But how many other places you've been in a stadium with there's 100,000 people putting their hand up,
yeah,
all
right.
in the same thing?
Yeah. This
Pretty weird.
Yeah, but there's a signal that's different than horns down. That if you look it up, it's supposed to be a sign of the devil.
Oh, well,
That Ozzy Osbourne fans used to do. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons that you.
Ozzy Osbourne, who he had a bat in Iowa or whatever.
Yes,
right?
he did. I was in high school when that happened. They had to get rabies shots in his stomach for it.
What a time.
Have you seen him lately? Whew. He is him and Vince Neil from Motley Crue are struggling, I guess you could
Yeah.
say.
But anyway,
There's a great. This is totally off the subject, but there's a great clip floating on Instagram of the lead singer of Motley Crue singing recently of one of their songs, and none of the words are discernible. It's like he's just making up words into the rhythm of the song. I mean, it's pretty. There's a lot of people out there who've seen it. It's pretty funny, but
Well, just think obviously you can't just talk about rock music, but it's like their lifestyle, they're probably drugs, alcohol, and like like their hearing probably is gone.
Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, I heard him interviewed on somebody's podcast, and he said, he would, at his peak of his alcoholism, he would mix a drink and put it by his bed. So when he woke up in the morning, he didn't have to go to the refrigerator to make a drink in the morning. Wow. Said he was drinking 2 handles of vodka a day, and when they would run out of mixers or something, he said on the road, they were injecting Jack Daniels into their veins directly.
It's a different time.
That is a different level of abuse. So then he went and got a doctor and did like a full body scan to see, how much damage he'd done. And his doctor said, "You're good." And he said, "How is that possible?"
Some genetics
anyway.
people have are just insane.
Yeah.
They just like people smoke till they're 98 and just like whatever.
Yeah. It's just the roll of the dice. I guess we turned this into the 80s rock
Yeah,
podcast.
but-
I don't know. I don't know who Texas, I guess I could look and see who Texas Tech's got this week. See if they're going to get that second loss to make that log jam
But
at the top.
Just as for like the NIL and all that jazz, like when teams come in, like I'm like not as familiar with them at all. Like when the
Right.
game's going on, then I like learn like, oh, McClure's still there. The Harrison guy, like Harris, obviously, and the Dickerson guy was huge
From
off
Michigan.
season,
Yeah.
and like apparently he could come back for one more year because of the COVID year. But
He's not going to play in the NBA.
No, I know
I mean,
that.
I'm sorry. He's not.
not.
If he was at the level of Embiid or any of the other big men that Kansas is drug into that place, he would be playing the NBA. I don't think he's got a prayer. He's like he's a bad version of Luka Garza.
Yeah, that's a pretty good
And
comparison.
Luka Garza hasn't he's in the D League still, but he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but he hasn't found a home in the
But yeah,
NBA yet.
did he mess out on like the NIL stuff? Man, he
Oh,
would've
baby,
made a
yeah.
bunch of money. Man.
He would have.
Anyways, but yeah, it's that this weekend has just been all-time weekend. I can't obviously if Purdy wins the Super Bowl, I'll probably come back and say, oh man, it's been an all-time weekend again. But man, what a freaking weekend!
It was fun. Yeah, now we got a week off. I mean, it's kind of deflating to be honest with you.
But we can live off the high of Purdy and like the Kansas game
Yeah.
for a while because man, that's having a CBS rewatch on like so great because like how many times like we watched that CBS Tinsley game to the point where it almost didn't work anymore.
Yeah, I recorded the Tinsley Heinrich the Kansas game when you were little, and you and your brother wore the VHS tape out. It got blurry because you guys had rewatched it so many times.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, you posted on Twitter, because if you're not following Jet Thomas on Twitter with Sound of the Sirens, you need to, because he puts on some great highlights. That highlight you posted this week of Tinsley going around his back twice and passing at Jake Sullivan in the corner for a 3. If you go back and rewatch the broadcast, I'm 99% sure they never replayed that.
No.
It went to commercial, and they never came back and replayed that play. I didn't see it on ESPN highlights or anything. It is a phenomenal play.
And Kevin Harlan on the call. It's insane.
Kevin Harlan and who was
I can't remember that.
Was it Jay Billis?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't Jay Billis. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, you're right. The only okay, so we're talking about the broadcast. Second half. TJ, somebody takes a timeout at the 17-minute mark.
Yeah, they say media timeout.
They say media timeout on the intercom. So now it's 2.5 minutes or whatever until we play again. 16 minutes. We get the under 16 timeout. Another one. There's another one at 12. There's another one at 8.
No, there's another one at 4.
I mean, why would you have to sub?
I know.
That's keeping Kansas in the game.
That's what I was saying. Like Jake Sullivan said this on his radio show a long time ago. It's like, why would like the conditioning, especially with our practices, like obviously we've like have a subbing system and TJ is doing that and it's been working, but we like Ward should play a lot more minutes. Like he shouldn't be like, I don't know, obviously he runs around and is very active, but like just based on like the waiting time, they should have time. Like Lipsy should never like, obviously that's why Monte played so many minutes. Because he could timeouts, because he could rest up, but we just have more depth and more great players. For like Jackson didn't even play on Saturday, which I think he could have.
Yeah,
but I think he will. Like he'll be a factor.
We're gonna have to have him. I mean, we're gonna because one of our guards is gonna get foul trouble, roll an ankle or whatever, and we're gonna have to have him. And I think he'll be fine. I mean, I think he's still adjusting to it. He's tough as hell. He's shooting 40% from 3 right now, and he's. Hasn't played in a lot of big time games, but I don't think the game is too fast for him. I mean, he just has he's just going to need get acclimated to it a little bit, and I don't know. And then in Omaha, gave us a couple good minutes against TCU and looked all right at it. He just does a goofy thing with his shot that I can't figure out. Nobody's fixed. I mean, when he shoots a free throw, he nods his head, so he's got his eyes directly on the rim, and as he's releasing it, he drops his chin. He does that on his 3-point shot too. I was watching him warm up, and it's just a mechanical thing that I can't believe nobody's got him to hold his head still. Yeah. I mean, he drops his chin just as he's shooting it, and I've never seen a good shooter do that ever. Fred would have fixed that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think patience with him is going to be great because he has athleticism.
Oh, baby.
He'll have more minutes next year for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
Robert Jones, Trey King, and Ward will be gone. So
yeah, we just need to, you need to listen to Brent Bloom and pump up some money into that NIL thing because, like it or not, the NIL thing is what we're dealing with right now, and we are going to have to go out and find some big guys next year. And so when you're donating to the We Will collective, you're going to basically be saying, I'm helping replace Robert Jones and Hassan because we got to go out and find somebody like that next year.
Yeah, and if we can get if Milan or someone's another NBA All-Star like with Tyrese Halliburton, the amount of money Tyrese Halliburton is going to make from now until he's done, holy crap.
All-star starter.
Yeah, which like the guy on a franchise.
Yeah,
and the TV contracts are just going to keep on getting more money and more money. So like having just based on having his tax write-offs going to We Will and stuff, that's going to be great.
And I think,
especially Brock Purdy is going to be just like that. And he's going to get a $40 million contract, especially if he wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We got to keep him healthy.
I know.
He's still got 2 years left in his deal,
which is insane. Like he played all of Iowa State relatively healthy, played every snap, which I don't think we talk about enough. Like before him, we had how many times it was just like a Ferris wheel every time we get a
revolving door.
Like Narnod, Jerome Tiller, Sam B. Richardson, Grant Rohach, Jerome
Burnett.
Tiller, Steele Jance, so many people get dinged up, and I think a huge part of that when he came here was he had wheels. He could run away from not having great offensive line. Those past quarterbacks that wasn't the case. And I think he having a not so good offense line, I think has helped him so much
because he's had to do it
because he can improvise, and obviously every time he throws across the body, across the field, and he usually like it succeeds, but every time there's like you cannot do that. It's a
They said that about Seneca Wallace
every time, but like in the NFL,
thing.
it's like but it's like every time Mahomes does that, like obviously they have cannons, but man, just seeing Purdy in the freaking Super Bowl is going to be freaking awesome.
So if you're going to extrapolate that Purdy is scrambling good because he ran for his life so much against Iowa State, you could probably say the same thing about David Montgomery. Yeah. How many times did David Montgomery get hit in the backfield and ended up getting 3 or 4 yards out of it? And now sometimes he's not getting hit till he hits 4 yards. I mean,
which I think the Lions, if they can just keep the same team, they're going to be freaking good next year.
And I feel for a fan base that's, been through a big drought like that. Everybody's kind of crucifying their coach for, not kicking the field goal. Don't necessarily disagree with them. Like Sam Morrell, comedian we like, put on Twitter because their coach is a guy that if he gets 18 in blackjack, he's yelling, "Hit me." I mean, that's kind of the way. It's kind of the way he is. But it was the formula that got him there. So I mean, why would you change if you got there going on 4th down pretty much all year? So
and just seeing him because on the Bears, it was very hard because like we knew David was way better than that because his offensive line was so bad on the Bears, and it's just a different level in the NFL getting knocked around on the versus Iowa State. And
I was worried that he's going to go to the Lions. It's going to be the same thing. It was just going to be the Bears 2.0, and thank God it's not.
Yeah, it's and they have a tight end that's from Iowa too. And,
Laporta. It's very awesome.
And
Jack Campbell.
Yeah, I was thinking about Purdy yesterday. I was like, maybe in Purdy's mind, it's like, okay, I've seen looking at the eyes of Jack Campbell. Obviously, during the last time game day was here, and he had a bad day. But I'm just like, I don't think that's going to happen twice in a row when Campbell's the linebacker. And it's like,
did you see Kittle pancake
Hutchinson?
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, Kittle,
that was awesome.
Yeah, Kittle.
Kittle's hilarious.
Yeah, he's going to be if they win the Super Bowl, him and Purdy come back in the an Iowa tour, and that's what I want. I want Purdy coming back on the home Iowa State basketball game and bringing the Super Bowl.
Bring Kittle with him,
and that would be so sweet.
That would be funny.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That's what I want. Not throwing the expectation too high, but that's what I want. Yeah. And I think Purdy can do it. And obviously Mahomes Mahomes is already a Hall of Fame quarterback and freaking good. And but why not be the best?
Yeah. It's gonna take a monstrous effort. The 49ers defense has got to play better in the first half against the Chiefs than they did. They just got absolutely torched in the first half. And I think, they obviously are going to adjust, and, you're going to see, there's a lot of tape on all of the Kansas City guys because Kelsey and Mahomes and all those guys, Pacheco and those guys have been around for a while, and you know what you're going to expect. But Andy Reid is pretty darn good at scheming games, and giving him 2 weeks to get ready is. And Shanahan is too, though. I mean, Shanahan's a fantastic coach too. It's just going to be fun. Vegas is going to be a mess.
Yep. Yes, it is.
I mean, I think to get in the door,
it was $6,500 last time I checked.
Yeah, $6,500 just to get in the door for that game.
Yeah, I was telling Louis,
there's not many guys doing what I do for a living that are going.
Because Louis is a big 49er fan. Shout out Louis Courier. And I was just like, man, how could we do it? I was like, all right, if I sold my car, we went there, just gamble a little bit and just see what happens.
It took 2 months of every dollar that I made. I could go to that one game, but that's not going to get you there or get you a hotel either.
Well, I stay with Mike.
Yeah.
But we had 3 hours. That's just you're paying $6,500 for 3 hours of you might just have the worst day possible.
And probably if you want a beer, you're probably dropping $15 for a beer.
But, but the thing is, you go there and the 49ers have 0 points, and it's just why?
Yeah. I guarantee you, they don't want me there because I guarantee it would not turn out good if I went. So.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. Anywhere go west. Last time we went west was the Hampton game.
Is that right?
Yep, probably.
Yeah. I know we talked about going to the Denver game when Monte was playing in Denver, but
yeah, it was
a long time ago. Well, we got a whole week off. It's almost like a bye week. We just have to watch the other teams and see what happens and get ready for Baylor Saturday, Texas the following week, and then TCU at home. So snatch up those tickets and fill up Hilton. How much fun would it be if we can get both of those games at Texas and at Baylor?
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so we're staring at it. If we could pull it off, we're staring at a league championship down the throat. I mean, that's really early. We got a
I
lot of
don't
games
want.
left.
I don't want us like Bill Raftery obviously put that on TJ. Like, oh, you guys, like, you think like who do you think is going to win the championship? You don't have to answer that question. And the fans went crazy after that, and she's like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like a year like we could do it because like.
Well, and we're gonna lay an egg somewhere. We did it every year.
We're gonna have a weird skid, but I don't know. We have a lot more depth and a lot more guards. Where like if it's not all on Lipsy.
No,
it's not all on Gilbert.
It's not all on Milan.
Jones.
It's not all on our freshman Milan either.
Like Milan's like could have way more pressure on him, but like
Milan's got to figure out how to get open. I mean, when you're a 3-point shooter, you know it is. I mean, you got face guarded in just about every game in your senior year. You've got to figure out a way to get open, and he's getting open by accident sometimes right now. Mm-hmm. And what got him open Saturday is the other guys are making threes. I mean, when you're the only 3-point threat, nobody else, they don't worry about anybody else. But if Curtis is a threat, Trey's obviously a threat now, and Keyshawn's a threat, it's going to make life, because if you're doing a pick and pop or whatever, I mean, they're probably going to try to do a little more big to small switch on Milan and bring Hassan out and set a screen for Milan, because they're not going to want to switch a guard on to Hassan and roll him down to the paint. So I don't know. It should be fun. I mean, if we would have asked before the season started, would you take being 16-4 at this point in the season? I think we'd all take it.
Yeah, and ranked 12th, and
jumped
beating
a lot.
Houston and Kansas, and winning out of TCU with no Lipsy.
Yeah, I would take it. Yeah, so. We just gotta stay healthy.
Yep. So yeah.
Like we said after the last podcast, if you've got friends that are podcast people, tell them to give us a chance. We're still keeping this commercial free one way or the other. Go to soundthesirens.com. If you need a gold shirt, we still have gold shirts, don't we?
I think so. Yeah.
We've got gold shirts for the gold out, or whatever the hell they're calling it. The
gold
TCU
rules.
Gold rules. Yeah, we've got gold T-shirts at soundthesirens.com. We've got some white crew necks that we got a bunch of those too, and the black one like I'm wearing right now. So if you want to help support Thomas's effort here, go to soundthesirens.com and we'll ship it out to you right away that day.
All right. Sounds good. Go
Cyclones.
Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.